Happy Sunday morning, everyone. Andy, Corbin, and Steve from WagerTalk.com. Welcome to the Road to Millions jam-packed show. No NFL teams on bye, so we're going to get right into it. We're going to go over 3 NFL best bets. We got some weather and injury updates. Really only one game with weather a real factor. We're going to go over a player prop and the final lines on those props this morning. Same game parlays and alt lines and anytime touchdown scores. Guys, please hit that like button while you're watching this. If you're enjoying the gambling content that we do, we put a lot of work into it. Please hit the like button. Leave us a comment. First off, tell us your best bet for today. We're going to go over a ton of props. Tell us which one you like the best. And also, if you're still live in the Survivor pool, leave me your pick if you have not done so. Real quick, guys, got to get some positive vibes from the audience here. So we had a great day yesterday, guys. Like, great day. And some people noticed here. Little Tucky. Thanks, Andy. Steve hit that assist parlay, even at Doncic at 7 assists because the juice was too high. Yeah, the alt assists are going really, really well. Ryan, thanks, fella, on another great show. Absolutely, Ryan. Thanks for joining us. Rich, great show. Thanks. Kincaid, Money in the Bank. Yes, he was. And Little Tucky asked about turnovers of props. So DraftKings, BetMGM, and Bovada are going to be your main book. So you got a nice offshore option. You got 2 nice domestic options for turnovers. For whatever reason, in DraftKings, the turnovers prop is under the defense category. So just look for player defense and go there, and you should be able to find all of them. So, all right, let's get back into Steve, real quick. I am out of I got eliminated last week in Survivor. You're the only one left. You're going with the Chargers, right?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of options left. I'm going to go with the best option on the board that I see is Chargers at home with the biggest spread at -8.5. There's actually some Bears things that I like in this game as well, but we'll go with the Chargers to win the game tonight.
All right, so I picked the Bills, and yet another reason for me to hate your stupid Patriots, Steve. So it's actually I have a lot more reasons to hate the damn Bills right now. So let's actually, you know what? Let's do weather real quick. So really, there's only one game that it looks like it's going to be pretty rough, and that is the it's the Denver game. But I think there's a little caveat here. So it is going to be freezing cold. We know that. Temperatures are going to be in the 20s. They got a ton of snow last night, and they're getting snow right now. I don't know if it's going to snow during the game. It's going to be kind of teetering off. So I don't know if it's going to be that crazy, like where the snow is completely covered, or where the field's completely covered in snow. And, footing is hard. I think it's one of those where it snowed, it's going to be cold, but they're going to be able to get most of the snow off the field. So you're going to kind of have to wait and see on some of the player props. I got to say, I think there's value in some of these player props. We'll get to them when we get there. But every other game looks pretty good. New England and Miami, wind gusts 10 to 15 miles an hour. Possible shower. Minnesota at Green Bay. It is cold, kind of not too cold, but about 40 degrees. Chance of a lingering shower early, but pretty much dry. Atlanta, Tennessee. It says rain is going to be just north of the game, so hopefully it stays off. Maybe you get a little drizzle, but looks like it should be a dry game there. Jets and Giants, few showers. They're probably going to get rain. Probably not a complete washout, but there will be rain in that game. Philadelphia, Washington, maybe a drizzle. Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, scattered showers. If it's going to happen, it's going to be early and very few winds. So nothing too crazy outside of that Kansas City and Denver game. And shout out to our friends at Roto Grinders. That's where I get all of this information. Injuries, guys. Jerome Ford wants to play today. They said he was going to be out a couple weeks, and he's like, no, I want to play. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to play. Fire up your interception props. Jalen Hurts is not even on the injury report. We know his knee's a little bit banged up, but not on the injury report. Jalen Ramsey's going to make his debut with the Dolphins today against the Patriots. Zach Moss is a game-time decision. That one really hurts player props in that Colts game. So you're going to have to wait on Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss props. Robert Woods is out 2 to 3 weeks. So that's more targets for the other receivers on that team. David Montgomery's not playing today. Deshaun Watson is week to week. And good news for Seattle. Looks like Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker, and DK Metcalf are all going to play. So And the Titans have said they're not going to trade Derrick Henry for reasons known only to the Tennessee Titans. So, all right, guys, let's get into the player props here, and we're going to start with passing props. I don't really have much for the passing touchdowns. The only one I liked this week was Josh Allen to go over 1.5. He did. I think all of these are kind of stayaways, so I think we can move into the passing yards. Jalen Hurts and Sam Howell, guys. I like Sam Howell over 232.5. He had 290 against against Philly, and Philly has moved into the number one defense for rushing. They're the number one team in yards allowed rushing. So I kind of like Sam Howell to go over 232.5. Any opinions in this game?
Yeah, I'm with you on Howell. I think that the way to get to the Eagles is through the air. So it seems like a pretty low number on Howell. So I'm with you on that one. Other than that, I don't have anything else on this one.
Patriots and Dolphins, Mac Jones, and to Steve, what do you think about Mac Jones? Any insider info there? What are they saying in New England? Anything we can take advantage of or no?
Not really. I mean, I would look towards though his interception prop on a weekly basis. He's only had like one game without a pick. It's only negative 140, and you got to figure this is a spot where the Patriots will have to throw to keep up. So I would definitely be looking at a Mac Jones interception here.
Two, it's amazing with that high flying offense. I feel like he goes under against the decent defenses. So
I was going to say 278 seems quite high. I was looking into the stats for some same game parlays, and he doesn't seem to get quite over that total. So
yeah,
I'd look under.
Yeah, you'd immediately just go over, right? Like, and then you look at two and you're like, oh no, actually under a little bit there. Saints and Colts. I kind of want nothing to do with the passing game in either one of these. uh, Rams and Cowboys. Again, I'm sick of saying I think Matthew Stafford's going to have a big week because then one of his receivers has a big week, the other one doesn't, and he ends up coming undering. Comes in under. Corbin, any opinion on Rams and Cowboys? These two quarterbacks.
Not really. You kind of nailed it. At first glance, I was like, oh, Stafford only 253. I was like, that sounds great. But then when you look into it, it's just not. He's like, it's kind of all over the place, but like around the 230, 240 mark. I just can't say with any certainty who's going to throw to. It'll probably be a week where they'll probably start trying to run out of nowhere. It's all over the place. But yeah, I don't have any confidence in the 253 now. So
I don't want to beat a horse to death, but I had the under for yards circled on Stafford as well. He's went under 3 straight weeks. You look at first glance, you say he doesn't have any running backs, so they're going to be throwing. That he has the receivers to utilize, but defenses have been keying in on that. They don't have to worry about the run game, and the Dallas is a defense that I think shuts him down today.
Jacksonville and Pittsburgh. Interesting line on Kenny Pickett here. It's pretty low, 215. Last 2 weeks, he's had 230 and 224. He had 230 yards last week, but he only completed 17 passes. This is a guy that doesn't throw the ball a whole lot. I don't know. I kind of like Pickett now that Deontay Johnson's back. I would take a little bit of an over in that one. I think Deontay opens up that offense and helps him a lot. Texans and Panthers, Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. I'm all aboard the Texans this week, and I think C.J. Stroud has a good week. Corbin, you agree?
Yeah, we'll get to it when we get to the same game parlay, but I've also circled Stroud over 240, I think it is now. He's cleared it in 5 or 6 weeks, and he only completed 13 passes for 199 last week. So got to feel there's a small bounce back spot here with only completing 13 last week. Surely that's got to go up. So
I love the Texans team total in that one. If it's 23.5, if it's moved up to 24.5 pass, but I love the 23.5. Vikings and the Packers. Jordan Love seems to be falling off a cliff. I thought the Vikings were going to run the ball a bunch last week. They threw it. Corbin, it's weird because you would think, okay, you attack the Packers on the ground. I thought the Vikings would have done that last week. Instead, Cousins threw it 1,000,000 times. I don't know. What are you seeing from the Packers defense? What's the best way to attack them?
Still the rush. We can't defend the rush at all still. I was looking, we'll get to this later, but Jair Alexander, obviously one of the best corners. He was so good in previous games at locking down Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
He went under almost every game against him. I wonder if this is going to be a similar spot for some of the main receivers like Addison with an under. So I would expect Matheson to run, but I also don't trust him with the slightest. And then Jordan Love, I mentioned it last week. If you have, for some bizarre reason, you like the over on Jordan Love, I can't see why you would, but you just wait till halftime and take the over. Like he has barely 100 in any first halves this year. He just starts so slow that you then get a good line on the second half over. So
I like that. That's a good one. Yeah, Kirk Cousins last week, 35 of 45 for 378. He threw for 378 yards against the 49ers. The week before, 181 against the Bears. Make that one make sense. Jets and Giants, good God. Neither, they couldn't even put a total over 200 for either one of these guys. That being said, I kind of like Zach Wilson. I kind of like Zach. It's going to be a low scoring game. I think I know that. And if you had the Steve, you got the onions taking over on Tyrod Taylor, Zach Wilson.
No, this is a stay away from me. There just has to be better options on the board.
I'm with you here. Falcons and the Titans. Here's another one. Good God. Anyone want an over on Will Levis playing one of the toughest pass defenses?
I want an over, but I don't want his passing yards over. I want his interception over. He threw 10 interceptions in college last year in 11 games. I mean, first star NFL, surely he can get one interception. It's not even that juicy. I think it was around minus 140 when I checked it. So
I thought I had the same first thought, but then I thought to myself, this could be one where we see him throw 17 times because they just run the ball so much to protect him. That's the only caution I would say with that one.
Well, he's going to throw an interception in one of those 17.
Yeah, it could very well happen, but
I got to tell you, I like Desmond Ridder over. You're thinking I'm crazy. Forget the fact that he fumbles on the goal line. He at least got him to the goal line. Here's his passing numbers. I mean, 329 against Houston, 307 against Washington, and 250 against Tampa. And Tennessee's best part of their defense is their rushing game. You can throw on Tennessee. So I actually kind of like Desmond Ridder over as one of those sneaky ones we're getting a low total. Browns, Seahawks, Geno Smith, PJ Walker, no chance. Chiefs at Broncos. We could start talking about this now. I will tell you I'm going to wait and see what the weather's like before. Steve, Corbin, you guys know, I think people overreact to weather like way too much. Like if it's 20-mile-an-hour winds, people are like, oh my God, the score is going to be 7-0. And when it snows, like, oh no, it's going to be so low scoring. Guys, they can shovel the field. They can cover the field. Like, it snowed last night and this morning. Like, if it's not snowing during the game, it's not a snow game. It's a snow game for the fans if there's a bunch of snow in the stands. I think
that's fun. That's fun.
That's a good time. If it's decent enough, I kind of like the over on some of these. And I will tell you, I think this is a Travis Kelce 12 catches for 140 yards type of game. So I'm not scared of these passing totals, and I don't know if I'm going with 274, but Russell Wilson over 206 and a half. Yeah, I kind of like it if the weather's decent. I'll wait before and see, and as long as it's not super windy, I might be interested in that. Bengals at 49ers. Brock Purdy, I think he's the only player to clear concussion protocol in less than a week this year. I don't know. I don't want anything to do with these guys. Purdy, no. Dobbs and Lamar Jackson. We talked about the Ravens and Lamar's success against the NFC. 16-1 straight up. I don't really have much in the props, but I know we've used the Ravens in a money line parlay. It's too hard to. If you haven't seen Lamar Jackson, you just can't simulate his speed. And that Ravens offense is absolutely clicking here. So I got thoughts on the passing, but not in this one. Bears and the Chargers. Shout out to EQ. He has labeled this game the Badgent Pageant Show, which I love. And these are two teams that feature pretty bad pass defenses and pretty good rush defenses. So Corbin, I was actually looking at a same game parlay with both these quarterbacks going over on the alternate lines. I see you nodding.
Yes, I agree with you completely. So not much to say. I just think they're both going to fly over. They've both got bad pass defense is, it's just kind of sets up perfectly. So
Yeah. That's
I think
a
I
yeah. Go
think
ahead, Steve.
a unique look here is Justin Herbert over 2.5 rushing attempts. It's negative 166, so it could be a parlay piece, or you might want to put just a small bet on it. But he's averaging 4.7 carries and 13.3 yards per game. Bears are giving up 12 a game, and they're favored by 8.5. So you could even get a couple kneel downs at the end to sneak over that number. 2.5 seems pretty low for Herbert on the rush attempts.
I like that one. Let's nice segue into the rushing yards. Eagles and Commanders. I talked about Brian Robinson under, and now the line has moved down. It was 39.5. Now it's 37.5 to the. I don't want to pay that much juice. We're getting close, but like I said, the Eagles, their defense seems to be getting better. They've taken over the number one spot. I just don't think this game looks like the last one, the overtime game. Washington's really started to fall off a cliff. That being said, guys, Jalen Hurts, like he's literally Hurts. He's his last name. His knee is Hurts. 38.5 rushing. I really like this under, Steve.
Yeah, I'm with you on that under with the banged up quarterback. Like he's so explosive that you think that he could still sneak over, but you got to figure they protect him, especially in a game they should probably control for the most part.
Corbin, you like anything on this?
I agree with you on the Hertz under for the obvious reasons you've mentioned, but I also think the best way to attack the Commanders is through the air. I could see him thrown to AJ Brown all day. We'll get to that in a minute,
Yeah,
but
yeah. The other thing
why
about
risk it in
yeah. The other thing about
this early stage?
The Eagles, you have this game. So if you get out of this one, you get Dallas next week. Then you get a bye, and then look at this schedule for the Eagles: at Kansas City versus Buffalo versus San Fran, at Dallas, at Seattle. What a brutal stretch! Like I just think, why would you have Jalen Hurts running around the field when you got that schedule coming up? So.
Exactly.
Patriots and Dolphins. This Dolphins situation is really messy. It looks like Mostert's going to play. Jeff Wilson's going to play. I don't know, Steve. Anything in rushing? This just feels like stay away central.
It's a stay away from me.
Saints and Colts. I don't know if you guys are interested in any Saints rushing props. We're not going to know anything about the Colts until we get the Zach Moss news, and that's not till game time. Let's move
The only
on.
thing I'll say is the Minshew. I got burned on it last week going under, and then he rushed like a madman. He like
Out of
in a
nowhere.
yeah, exactly. In a tight game, maybe it's definitely one to watch. I probably won't play it the over, but it's definitely one to watch if he suddenly turned a corner. He's going to start running the ball. So
I did not expect to get the Gardner Minshew rushing game
no,
last week. Rams at Cowboys. I'll just keep saying it. Dak Prescott in close games. He goes over this rushing total. Last 7 games that the Cowboys were involved that were either one score or games that they lost, he went over this total. In games that they win by blowout, he doesn't even attempt to rush. One game he had negative yards because he kneeled down at the end. So I think this game is close. The Rams don't get blown out, and I like Dak Prescott over his rushing. Anything else rushing yards in this one?
Not for me.
Jacksonville Jaguars at Pittsburgh Steelers. I like ETN a lot. 65.5. The Steelers team 28th worst in yards per game, and I just think he's humming. He gets over 64% of the work. And the guy who's getting the second most carries is Trevor Lawrence. It's not even Tank Bigsby. They don't even have a line for Tank Bigsby. He has absolutely no competition in the rushing. As for the Steelers, I don't know, Steve. We're just still staying away from Warren and Najee Harris.
Yeah, I'm laying off of them this week. A wait and see approach on those two for right now.
I really like Trevor Lawrence. You kind of hinted it there, but I like him over 18.5. He's gone over in 5 of 7, had 59 last week. I'm expecting a close game, and I'm just not sold on the Steelers' rush defense. I could easily see him rush for. It's quite a low total still, so
Yeah,
that's where I'm looking.
Maybe that's a same game parlay too. Takes them all.
I was looking, yeah, because ETN, even though 65 seems like a good total. I was looking, he has quite a few games in like the late 40s, mid 50s. You could easily get an alt line of like 40 or 50 rushing yards on ETN and parlay that with even Trevor Lawrence, probably an alt line near a 10, and I love that. So that was one I was looking at.
And he's faced good rush defenses. He's had to play the Colts twice. He had to play at New Orleans. He played Buffalo 3 weeks ago. He played Atlanta, played Kansas City. This is going to be one of the better or one of the worst rush. It's one of the better matchups for him. So I really, really like this one. Texans and Panthers. Steve, you like anything? Is this Damian Pierce breakout game?
I don't have anything for the backs in this game personally.
Corbin?
Not really. Again, Chuba Hubbard, where did he come from? Absolute, who knows? But no, not really. Not really anything on that one.
Vikings and the Packers. Steve, we talked about Aaron Jones. This line has moved to 36.5, still leaning under.
Yeah, I'm still leaning under. I loved it at 42.5. He hadn't achieved that total yet in 3 games. He's only went over this total though once, and that was just slightly, just barely snuck over. We talked about the Vikings having an improving rush defense, only allowing 66 yards on the ground through the last 3 games. They held McCaffrey to 45 in their last game. So yeah, and he's banged up with the hamstring. So I still lean under on that one at 42.5. I loved it. 36.5, maybe a smaller play.
I mean, he even said something about his hamstring. It's not often that the players he came out and was like, no, my hamstring's not healthy. And we all know, guys, hamstrings heal really quickly. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Corbin, what do you think in the backs here? I mean, this Madison and Akers,
Yeah.
it's like bad rush defense, but also bad running backs. It's
Exactly. It's just I was tempted by the Cam Akers one just because it's a lower total, but it's just a stay away. I have something on Aaron Jones for the receiving, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Jets and Giants. You guys are going to laugh at me. I love the Dalvin Cook over 14.5. They're going to run the ball a ton. I don't think they're going to want Zach Wilson to throw. I think this game is close. Dalvin Cook asked about a trade. That's a separate story, how ridiculous it is that he's like questioning his role. And it's like, well, what did you think your role was going to be on this team when you came here? I think they give him the ball, and I think he goes over. I think if he does win a trade, they showcase him, or it's just kind of a squeaky wheel thing. Of all the rushing props, I think Dalvin Cook over, and I'm perfectly fine if I look like a complete moron after this game when he has 1 carry for 2 yards. Corbin, any rushing props in this one?
Not really. I was again looking at Tyrod Taylor, but I talked myself off it. Zach Wilson as well at 12.5. I don't know how. We said it's going to be a close game. The Jets have won all the last head-to-heads. We'll get to that in a bit, but it's kind of tough. If I had to pick, I'd go Zach Wilson 12.5, but no real strong opinion.
Yeah, 15, 26, and 14 the last 3 weeks. So,
Yeah.
Steve, anything in rushing in this one?
I agree with you that Cook probably goes over, but I think Hull is going to go over the 71.5. I completely agree. The Jets are going to try to keep this out of Wilson's hands, and Giants second most yards to opposing backs. So I think Hall. He's been getting more and more involved in the past couple of weeks, and he just had a big game. So give me the over on him.
Falcons and Titans, they're sticking with Derrick Henry here. I can't get to the window on any of these. Corbin?
No, I don't want anything to do with Bijan Robinson after last week's mess of a situation. Derrick Henry, again, who knows what's really going on there. 67.5, still like a decently high total. Yeah, just a whole stay away. Maybe Spears, that was another one I was half tempted by, but again, no real strong opinion.
Browns at Seahawks. Kenneth Walker is going to play. I kind of suspected it would. Like they were saying, oh, calf injury, and then he didn't practice for a few days, and then all of a sudden he's fine. So I think it was kind of much ado about nothing here. That being said, both these defenses are really good against the rush, and unfortunately, we're not going to have any clarity on the Browns now that Jerome Ford is saying, oh, I may play. So I think this is pretty much a stay away. Steve, I know you like Pacheco over receptions. We can talk about that when we do receptions. Anything you like in the running game in this game? It's going to be cold. Field probably frozen. Is anything we can do rushing in this one?
Yeah, I don't see a lot that I like here for the rushing numbers. Like you mentioned the Pacheco receptions, and I also agree with you on Kelsey being heavily involved in this one. But I don't have anything I really love on these numbers from a rushing standpoint.
Bengals and 49ers. Can I interest anyone in a Joe Mixon under? What's his longest rush here? One, because I don't think he's gotten over double digits on the longest rush in forever. But you guys got anything in rushing in this one, Corbin?
I don't actually know.
All right, what's Joe Mixon's longest? Oh, yeah, 12.5. I don't know. Against the 49ers, Joe Mixon, I haven't seen any explosiveness out of him at all in the slightest. I would take the under. Steve, you like any rushing props in this game?
No, I don't. I don't have anything on this one.
Whilst you navigate back to the rush, that just on the game before, Russell Wilson to rush in a if there's like snow and cold, I quite like that. He could easily go for a couple. He likes to scramble. Again, he's going to be playing the Chiefs, so he's going to have to do something against that offense because
Yeah.
we know for sure they're going to put up points. I could easily see him scrambling quite a few times, and it's quite a low total still given the conditions as well. So.
Books have finally moved Josh Dobbs over 31 and a half yards. This one worries me a little bit just because if there's one defense who practices against a really mobile quarterback, it's the Baltimore Ravens. So, if you're playing Dobbs, it's just you're playing it every week. But if you're not playing it, I could totally see why. That being said, I love Gus Edwards over. I love Justice Hill over. I looked at their alt lines. They have just Justice Hill line so low that you really can't get a good alt line. I think Edwards goes over. I think Justice Hill goes over. Bears and Chargers, Steve. Um, two teams that don't give up a bunch of yards. Are there unders we could look at, or what are we doing with this one?
Yeah, out of anything I had mentioned the Herbert attempts, but I also would say take his yards at 8.5.
Yeah. If he
You
gets
know,
three rushing attempts, he's going over
yeah,
that one.
and he's basically went over that consistently, and the Bears have been a vulnerable defense to basically everything. So I'd look towards that.
Corbin, anything with rushing props in this one?
Nope.
I like Austin Eckler under. He's dealing with not one but two bad ankles now, and they just don't use him a whole lot. And the Bears, the way to attack him is passing, so I don't see him getting a ton of work there.
Whilst you move on to receiving, I know it's a game for later on, but and some books have this. It's actually the Raiders team rush, so it's all their rushing combined. It's under 90 yards at the minute. We've talked about their rush game before. Josh Jacobs getting tackled for minus yards consistently. I don't see who else other than Jacobs is really rushing in that team, and 90 is quite a high total. So
Yeah,
that's
now
one to look out.
now that Garoppolo is the starter, he is not running, so you're not getting any running yards from the quarterback. All right, receiving props. I'm not taking under on AJ Brown. Corbin, you?
No way.
Yeah. What is it at? 88 and a half.
8-8.
Yeah. So
this morning.
I hate the high totals. I hate them with a passion. But he has cleared 125 in his last 5, and including the head-to-head. So all signs point to Hurts throwing. We mentioned that he's not potentially going to be running as much. He's the main weapon. That's who they're going to. The only thing that slightly concerns me is that he spectacularly went under this total in both head-to-heads last year. But other than that, I like it.
Patriots and the Dolphins. It looks like we're going to get the full-blown Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill experience. Corbin, what do you do with this Dolphins passing game?
Oh, I'm not sure, to be honest, this week. Normally this is the part where I'd say Waddle and Hill over, but I'm less convinced this week. If I had to pick one, I would still go Waddle just because I'm going to probably ride it every week. I was looking at their receptions, and again, Waddle's is at, I think it's at 4.5 now, but he's had multiple games with some with 2, some with 4. It's like I don't really want to pick and choose here, so I'm kind of staying away this week from them. So,
Steve, anything from the Patriots side of the passing props?
Yeah, I actually have a nice little sleeper play here. Demario Douglas over 27.5 receiving yards. He's cleared it in 2 of his last 3 games with 40 plus in both of those games. And this being a game where the Patriots, I feel like will need to throw to keep up. It's a really nice low total, and I think that's a nice look for a little bit of a sleeper play there.
I love that one, Demario Douglas. Saints and Colts, low hanging fruit alert. All right, who wants Alvin Kamara receptions and yards?
Yes.
This yards is already up to 36.5. Yesterday it was 33.5. That's almost a 10% move.
If you're playing this, it has to be the receptions over the yards for me.
You're right. You're right.
He's just a check down king. I forgot. I think it was the last game where he had like 3 check downs in a row at one point. It was ridiculous. He's had 12, 7, 3, but the 3 was in a huge blowout win versus the Patriots. Sorry, Steve. And 13. I'm actually also so obviously I'm going to play the 4.5, but I'm also going to ladder this up all the way to 10. Just getting huge plus money on some of those because he's going to keep doing it. So
For those that don't know what the ladder strategy is, Corbin, can you just explain it in the most basic terms?
you basically keep taking their totals up and up, but you lower the stake as you go up. So he's at 4.5. You can take him to get like 6, 7, 8, 9, and it just gets higher plus money the further you go. So the basic key is if you hit the 4.5, it kind of covers you if it somehow doesn't hit the others, and then if you hit all the others, then you're just playing with even more free money. So
I don't know what to do with this Colts with these wide receivers. I talked about Josh Downs, but this is a tough pass defense. I just got to say, stay away. So, Rams and Cowboys. My hot take is Cooper Cup and Puka Nakua are unplayable for the rest of the season. I think if you
agreed.
play both of them over, you're going to go 1-1 pretty much every week and get juiced. And if you can pick which one's going to do better, then you obviously are a coach on the staff there. I can't figure it out. Brandon Cooks, I will say, he's obviously a lot more healthy. We got a nice little ride of unders out of him, but he looks healthy now. Uh, Friggin' Michael Gallup here, man, 38 and a half. He gets the targets, but I don't know. In the end, I just kind of keep coming back to I think this is just an unplayable game from passing props. Steve, is there anything that sticks out?
No, the Gallup was just so frustrating that night we had him, and he just had so many targets. But this isn't a game that I have anything on tonight.
Corbin, can you get the winner with anything in this one?
Oh, so I need to look into it more. I haven't had quite a chance, but Puka Nakua seems to do well against zone defenses. I need to look into what the Cowboys play, but that's his biggest weeks have come against zone defenses when he can get in the middle of the space. I was looking at Michael Gallup. You've mentioned it. He had 10 targets. I have to feel at some point he's going to get there. But also, do you want the pain of watching
No,
it and all these dropped
I
passes?
don't.
Absolutely not. I'd rather miss out than deal with that stress this Sunday.
Jaguars and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, Calvin Ridley, he's either going to go
Under.
way under or way over. And most likely under this one. Christian Kirk, he got bailed out last week. He had one big catch for the big game. I just think that this is a running game for Jacksonville. As far as the Pittsburgh Steelers go, I actually think Jalen Warren. I think his receiving numbers go down now that Deontay Johnson's back. I like Deontay Johnson over, and I like Jalen Warren unders on these. I just think Johnson does so much to open up the offense, and I find it interesting that Johnson's only 3 yards different than George Pickens. So, Corbin, anything in Jacksonville and Pittsburgh?
I have two. You already mentioned one with the Ridley. Ridley's just going under. He's gone under in five straight weeks. Is it five? Just it's 5 of the last 6, I think.
Yeah.
But again, I don't trust him. But the one I really like is Evan Ingram over 4.5 receptions. He's cleared it in all but 1 week where he had 4. So even that one he went under. He only just went under. But that's one I really like. He's just a great weapon for Trevor Lawrence. He just trusts him. He's gone over so many weeks. I just carry on riding him. So.
Evan Ingram, amazing. Move on to the Texans and the Panthers. There's a lot of them in this one. Steve, where do you want to start?
I'm looking at Collins in this one. He's been the guy over there, and this is about as good of a matchup as you could ask for. It's a pretty low total for a guy like him, so I would look towards his over 57.5 receiving yards.
I like
Uh,
Thielen. We'll get to again. I'll have it in my same game parlay section, but I could easily mention it at just his normal yards and receptions. I think I prefer his receptions over the yards. His receptions at 5.5. He's had 11, 11, 7, 11, 7.
mhm.
I get again. when we mention the yards versus receptions, it's always a common discussion. Steve will get to it in a minute. Bryce Young doesn't throw the ball that deep that often. If he's going to get to 68 yards, which he's had 115, 107, 76, 145, but he also has the 1 week where he got 54, at which point I feel like he has to get these amount of receptions, so over the 5.5 to get close to the yards. So I would go receptions for Thielen here.
Fun fact in this one, worst team against tight ends is the Texans. They give up over 72 yards a game receiving to Texans. So there you go. Play your Panthers tight ends.
Yeah.
all of those options.
All of them, yeah. Steve, what are we doing with the receivers here in this game? KJ Osborne just doesn't look like he can hack it. Jordan Addison has a huge game, but boy, that game's different if he doesn't rip that ball away.
Yeah.
From the 49ers. What do we like in this one?
100%. I'm more looking towards Addison. I know that Corbin had mentioned the Jair Alexander, and so that kind of scares me off his totals, but I still like him to score a touchdown this week. He's just been such a great touchdown scorer for them. I'll touch on it later a little bit more, but yeah, I'm looking at Addison touchdown in this one.
I'm so mad they don't have Brandon Powell props. I like Brandon Powell. He's going to catch a touchdown in the next couple weeks. He's their slot receiver, gets a decent amount of targets. But when they start putting attention on Addison, he's going to catch several passes. I'm stunned we can't get any props on this one. Corbin, you like any passing ones in this one?
Aaron Jones over 16.5. Love is all over the place, quite honestly. Like, he loves a check down as well. He had 22 last week, 86 in week 1. He got 27 in one of the head-to-heads last year versus the Vikings. That's where I'm looking. I'll probably play it quite small because you mentioned the hamstring issues. But again, such a low total at 16.5 that I like it. So
Jets at the Giants. I think Garrett Wilson could be in line for a good run over the next few weeks. I just don't know what to do with this game now. It looks like DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner are back. So that kind of takes away most of the props that I was looking at because I like Wan'Dale Robinson, but now with those guys in there, I think this ends up being a stay away for receivers. Steve, you like any of these guys?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Darren Waller stuff out there for overs, but I don't necessarily agree with that. And with the defensive back situation for the Jets, I agree. It's a stay away from me in this one as well.
Corbin, you like anything in this one?
Absolutely not.
Well said. Falcons at the Titans. Jonnu Smith keeps being productive. Listen, if I like Desmond Ridder to throw the ball and go over his passing total, then I have to believe that a couple of these guys are going to hit. I don't think it's too far out of line to see Drake London going over his total and one of these guys playing over his total. In fact, I would say if you play Drake London, Jonnu Smith, and Kyle Pitts all at even, you're going to go 2-1 at worst. That would be my prediction with 3-0 possibility looming. It's interesting. You would think maybe the books would have been a little bit, cautious with Bijan Robinson, and they're not here on the passing total. Corbin, they actually bumped it up a yard, so
It makes no sense. So last week,
he just had a headache.
Oh,
He didn't pull a calf. It was a 1 week thing.
I don't trust it. I don't like the situation at all. But even before that, his total normally when it comes out, I like it nearer the 24 range, not the 28. It's slightly over. Like, he has a habit of getting in that 25, 26, 27 range that I just don't like. I just don't want nothing to do with it. So,
Steve, you like any receiving props in this game?
No, this is a stay away from me.
Cleveland Browns and Seattle Seahawks. I got nothing. I got nothing in this one. I would only point out that Jackson Smith and Jigba had a good game last week, but that was without DK Metcalf. Metcalf is a full go. I would go back to going under on his. But other than that, I don't have anything in this one.
I have Tyler Lockett over 3.5 receptions.
Okay.
That's the only thing that I can get close. So he's over in 4 of 6. Minshew we've mentioned great success against the Browns last week. He seems to be Geno Smith's favorite weapon, or at least one of them. And 3.5 receptions is quite a low total. when the Browns have quite a good rush defense, and we've mentioned some question marks over Kenneth Walker's health. I could quite easily see him getting quite a few receptions, and 3.5 seems quite low to me. So.
All right, Chiefs and Broncos. This huge total on Travis Kelsey does not scare me at all. 76.5. It's square, but this just reeks of Kelsey over the middle for 9 yards, breaks tackle. There's a 15-yard. Like, somehow they always get the ball, it feels like, with a 2-minute drill, and Kelsey has 3 catches for 38 yards on that drive. He absolutely murdered the Broncos in the last game. I'm just not too scared in the weather game. I think this just is a really, really big Travis Kelsey game. And if I'm taking the approach that I only need one play in a game, I only need Kelsey to go over this one. Steve, anything in this one?
Yeah, one of my favorite plays of the week. I love the Pacheco over 2.5 receptions. We talked about it earlier in the week. He's become more and more involved in the passing game over this in his last 3 of his last 4. A couple weeks ago, he faced the Broncos, caught 6 on 6 targets, and the Broncos are allowing the second most running back receptions with 47. So with weather, that makes it even better to me because it's potentially more checkdowns. So 2.5 seems awful low for Pacheco in this one.
Corbin, anything you like in this game?
Other than Kelsey, not really. We mentioned Mahomes' huge total. I think it was it 270 range?
Yeah.
I look at it and I'm like, if Kelsey's not getting to going over 76, how is he going to get anywhere near 276?
Yes.
So if I like that, I'm gonna play Kelsey.
Yeah,
So
it's not because of Valdez Scantling and Sky Moore having
No.
big games. Now that I just said that. Bengals at the 49ers. So Steve, we dabbled with George Kittle last week, and we thought, oh, he'll probably stay in to block. Not the case. He went out for passing. He had a big week. So the books have noticed 48.5. Do we go back to Kittle over? Is that just going to be his role now that Debo's out?
It's not a play that I'm going to use this week. I just feel like it's this Bengals defense can shut down different players when you don't really expect it. So I'm staying away from this game.
Corbin, you like anything in this one?
I actually have one of my favorite plays in this game. It's Jawan Jennings over 29.5. I mentioned it last week, and he sailed over. He's gone over in 3 of 5, and Debo's obviously not playing. He just seems like he's a great second or third option with those guys out. If they get up, then who knows, they could take some workload off McCaffrey. I think he's going to rush more this week than receive. So I'm going with Jawan Jennings over 29.5, especially at such a low total. So
Well, the other great thing about this number, these are his longest catches
Oh,
in
yeah.
each game.
Yeah.
31, 24, 19, 17, 18. His floor is 17 yards. One
Yep.
catch and bang, you're like almost there. So I'm with you on that one. Ravens and Cardinals. Corbin, you've liked Mark Andrews. I just think this is a big rushing game for.
Yeah, I'm staying away from it this week. So when I'm playing Mark Andrews, it's primarily his receptions. I like his receptions. The line's at 4.5, and I think he's hit 4 exactly in the last 3 or 4 weeks. I much prefer them to rush this week. I don't like the 55.5. I may personally alt line play it and get I've got Gus Edwards at a lower total and maybe Mark Andrews to get 2 or 3 receptions, but that's where I'm looking with that one.
Steve, you like anything in this one? We got Trey McBride. It looks like this is his position, right?
Yeah, it's definitely his spot. But I'm actually looking on the other side. I'm looking at Zay Flowers. It's a pretty manageable total for him. He's cleared it in 4 of his 7 games, and his floor has been 48. So he's like getting close to it every single week. Consistent targets on a weekly basis, and the Cardinals are very vulnerable to opposing one of the worst teams against wide receivers. So I like his over in this one.
They keep saying how they want to protect Lamar Jackson as well and throw more, so that could set up for a Flowers over as well. So
Yeah, the Ravens are another one that have a brutal schedule coming up. They've got rivalries and stuff. Every time I say that though, then Lamar like runs 14 times for 190 yards. So Bears at the Chargers. I mean, listen, I think this is over galore. The biggest the biggest one that's missing here is Josh Palmer. He was going to be my favorite. It the only thing I can find about his status is it says Josh Palmer is more likely to play than Gerald Everett, except Gerald Everett was like doubtful. So it's like if you're more likely to play than a guy that wasn't going to play, doesn't mean you're going to play. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to wait here. I love Palmer's upside. If not, I mean, this is why this Keenan Allen number is like so high, 82.5. So, Steve, Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney, low totals against a team that's pretty horrific against the pass.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of directions you could look here in this one for receiving. There's like this game is going to definitely be flying over. I'm kind of looking more towards the quarterbacks, though I don't have anything concrete on any sort of one receiver right here.
Corbin, anything in this one?
Not really, no.
All right, and we'll save Raiders and Lions for Monday. So, all right, that will do it for the final of the player props and the final lines. So, all right, Corbin, let's talk same game parlays. Said this one is your favorite, and you mentioned Adam Thielen was going to be high on your list. So let's talk this one out.
Exactly. So I've already mentioned I like all three of these pieces at their regular lines, just getting the extra safety barrier. So we have Stroud to throw for 200. He was only short in one game, which was last week when he threw, wait for it, for 199 yards. So brutally just under by 1 yard. Again, I expect him to bounce back. Only had 13 completions last week. I think this is a great spot for him to easily get 200. Thielen, so 40 yards and 4 receptions. He's cleared this in all of his last 5 games. He's just the main guy for the Panthers. The only concern is the trade rumors that have come out. But again, what better way to get a trade than to showcase him and him fly over? His value will just soar up again. So that's where I'm looking at with that one for minus 154.
I don't know what contending team like needs Adam Thielen. Like, oh, that missing piece was Adam Thielen. Like,
especially at 33 years old.
I mean, I'm happy for him. He's putting up a lot of numbers, but let's be honest, it's on a team that's down 20 points.
He could be a guy that'd help you out, though. You know what I mean? He could help you. I mean, he could help you out a little bit, I'm sure.
All right, let's go through these. He ain't getting much playing time for Philly. He's not getting much playing time San Fran. Now that I'm getting ready to say the team that he probably would work well on, and that's the Chiefs.
I was just going to say that seems, if he has to go to one, that one makes sense.
That
when we were
actually
just
would be
saying about their receivers.
You already got Kelsey. You add Thielen. You have the upside of Rice. That might actually like be a decent fit. But everyone else, I'm just not really sure where he fits in and helps them out a bunch. So, all right, Corbin, let's go to the alternate universe here.
Yeah.
Only 3 plays, and I love that you have the Rams plus money every week. I love that you're just like, the Rams are going to play these games really, really close,
Yeah.
therefore we'll take them. So let's walk through these games.
So we have the Rams plus 20.5. State the obvious, is a huge, huge total. The Cowboys have only covered this in one game, and that was versus, Steve again, it's the Patriots.
It's okay. It's okay.
Again,
I've had years of glory, so it's okay.
Don't feel bad.
they were close to going over versus the Jets, but the Jets just do not have the same offense that the Rams have. We've mentioned the Rams have decent offense. They seem to rush just out of nowhere, no matter who's playing sometimes. They've still got Puka, they've still got Cup. I'm sure one of them will have a breakout soaring day. They've played twice since 2020. Rams have won by 3 and lost by 12. They've only lost to the Eagles and the Niners by 9 and 7. They're just not getting blown out by anyone. To say the Cowboys are going to do basically over double what the Eagles or the 49ers did to them just doesn't make any sense to me. We've mentioned the Jets game, how we're expecting it to be close. Even if Zach Wilson has a nightmare, I still think they can cover 10 just by how great their defense is and how poor the Giants are. They've actually won the last 4 head-to-heads, and they've covered in every game except the Cowboys game that I just mentioned. They also beat the Eagles last week, so plus 10 basically gets you a field goal and a touchdown. So love that one. And then the Chiefs minus 2.5 versus the Broncos. They've covered this in every head-to-head since 2015, and they won by 11 this season, dominating them completely with 389 to 197 total yards. So I love that play at minus 145.
Nice, love it. Yeah, hey, long as Rams getting money, or Rams getting points, keeps cashing, keep riding it. So love that.
Exactly.
So Rams plus 20.5, Jets plus 10, Chiefs minus 2.5. It gets you to minus 145 on the alt lines, and of course you can use those, for any other, plays we talked about.
Yeah.
So. All right, Steve. Anytime touchdown scores. We're going back to John Dotson. We're going back to the Patriots defense, and then let's talk about. You mentioned your Jordan Addison, but you're going to add Pacheco. It's supposed to be Brees Hall, not Bryce Hall. DJ Moore.
I hope Bryce Hall's not scoring a touchdown this week. That would.
There we go. All right, so talk about your anytime touchdown props here.
So my favorite one of the week is Isaiah Pacheco. He's had a touchdown in 4 of his last 4 games. Broncos, very vulnerable to running back touchdowns. 3rd most on the ground with 8. Tied for the most through the air with 4. Got some weather we talked about earlier. He's my favorite guy this week. Brees Hall, he scored the last 2 weeks, and we've seen him had an expanded workload. We got him tied for... I think that they're going to look towards him a lot to take the pressure off Wilson, like we talked about earlier. And we got the Giants tied for the 3rd most running back touchdowns allowed with 8. So the Addison look here is we're going to go with a play on his touchdown alone. He's scored in his last 3 and 5 of his last 7 as well. No Jefferson, obviously, still, so that's been huge for him. He's getting more and more involved. Now, Green Bay does have a good pass defense, but they've given up an opposing first touchdown. So we're going to look at Addison's first touchdown here as well with a little sprinkle at plus 950. I've been writing articles on these all season. This is my favorite one of the year so far. He's tied for the most first touchdowns in the NFL with Jerome Ford, McCaffrey, and Myers. Those are the 4 guys that have scored the most first touchdowns in the game.
Go over those names again. That is bonkers.
So it's McCaffrey, makes sense. Jerome Ford, Jacoby Myers, and then Jordan Addison are your 4 guys that are tied with 3 first touchdowns. These aren't first touchdowns for their team either. It's his first in the game. And so the Packers, they have a really good pass defense, but in their last 3 games, the first touchdown has been an opposing wide receiver. Sutton, Myers, St. Brown have all gotten the job done first against the Packers in their last 3 games. I also have DJ Moore, a nice plus money option for tonight. He's been Badgent's number 1 option since he's been the starting quarterback. Chargers tied most wide receivers touchdowns with 9. And we've seen this Chargers defense get torched by explosive wide receivers. Lamb, Adams, Jefferson, Hill. They've all torched this defense. And Moore's an explosive guy. I'm looking to see him get off the blocks tonight. The pay dirt parlay is going to be Pacheco, Hall, and Moore at plus 950, just about 10 to 1. We just missed the pay dirt parlay last week. Diggs hits. Hill hits. I called it the free square with Kenneth Walker at negative 175, and there's no such thing as a free square. We know that. And as far as the every week bets, Patriots hopefully finally can get the job done here for us. And Dotson, I'm a little bit encouraged with last week after seeing no receptions and only 1 target the prior week. He had 8 targets and 5 receptions last week for 43 yards. We talked about how to get at the Eagles is through the air. So I think that Dotson, we play him every week based on his numbers from last year and what we look aheads and stuff. But I would look towards Dotson as well.
All right, looking at Pacheco, Hall, and Moore to get those anytime touchdowns. Love that Jordan Addison call. I love it.
It's interesting for sure. And what you could do is you could, put say you wanted to play a unit on it, put maybe 3/4 of the unit on Addison to score. And then maybe just sprinkle a little bit. So if he does score, he scored in 5 of 7. I know it is a tough matchup with Alexander, but if he scores, then you get some profit on it. And if he scores first in the game, then you're really going to make some nice cash.
All right, guys, what do we have up? We have our NFL best bet that is up. We'll go ahead and make it a 5% play. And we have our NBA best bet and our NHL best bets that are up for today. 6-2 in and 6-1 in NBA and NHL. Like off to a great start. Absolutely love the props that we have, and you can still use. Don't use the promo code. Friday was the best day to use it. So if you didn't use the promo code and you want to grab these plays, they're up at WagerTalk.com. NFL 5% best bet, NBA best bet, and NHL best bet. Love using these alt lines. And some of these parlays have gotten off to a great start in both of those NHL and NBA sports. All right, guys, let's take a look at our 3 NFL best bets. I will go first, and this guy just keeps going over his total. It's Justice Hill, and he doesn't get a ton of carries, but he doesn't really need them. And actually, this week, I think he may get a pretty increased workload. I don't know why the number's so low. Last week goes 4 for 46 and that's against Detroit. That's a good rush defense. Against Tennessee, another good rush defense. He goes 8 for 35. Against Pittsburgh, 7 for 32. Against Cleveland, he only gets 3 carries, 33 yards though. Against Cincy, 11 carries for 41 yards. So he just gets there. He has his longest carries the last 5 games are 11, 15, 14, 10, and 27. He's explosive. I think this is a Gus Edwards and Justice Hill game with the Cardinals kind of falling apart here. Kyler Murray is going to come back, but this is not a good rush defense. So Justice Hill over 26.5 is my favorite play of the day. Steve, rinse and repeat. Love it. We're going back to Bryce Young, right?
Yeah, he hasn't thrown more than 30 yards on a longest completion yet this season, so it hasn't happened yet. He just does not have the deep threats to get this job done. Well, I do think Adam Thielen could help some of these contenders. He's not going to help you get.
Threat, though.
He's not going to. Yeah, he's going to help. That's why I was thinking maybe the Chargers could be a potential if they needed somebody. I don't know if you consider them a contender or not necessarily, but
no.
Yeah. So anyway, he's they just don't have the deep threats. Thielen's not going to be the guy that's going to really stretch the field, and Mingo was a former tight end. Houston, I looked at the 3 of their 6 games. They haven't allowed the opposing quarterback to throw over this total. So until Young gets this done, I'm taking the under.
Corbin, you're going to, it's a sack prop against the most sacked quarterback in the league.
Exactly.
Love it.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, the Commanders are giving up the most sacks. It's just crazy how many they're giving up. They have awful pass protection, particularly on 3rd down, allowing the most pressures. Everything just sets up for sack props here. He has 5.5 in his last 4 games and 5 straight head-to-head matchups. He's had a sack. So just going to keep riding it here. Love it. So
the least amount of times Sam Howell's been sacked in a game is 4 this year. 4. That was their best performance.
Especially as I'm expecting the Eagles to be ahead as well. The game script just helps. He's going to have to throw at some point. You mentioned that they've got Eagles rush defense is really good now. So if he's going to stand there trying to pass, he's going to get into a lot of 3rd downs and a lot of sacks are coming that way. So
it's just crazy. I mean, it is crazy looking at some of these numbers: 6, 5, 5, 5, 9, 4, and 6 for Sam Howell.
You could easily. I would play these ones smaller, but you could easily do Sweat and the other Eagles players to get sacks as well. Reddick's my favorite, but you could easily go for the others as well.
Yeah, they gave up 5 to the Eagles last time. If they give up 5 again, Reddick's going to be involved in at least one of those. Yeah. So those are our 3 best bets for this show. Justice Hill over rushing Bryce Young under longest completion, and Hassan Reddick to have a sack against Washington. So guys, please hit the like button. Make sure you leave a comment with your survivor pick and tell us what your favorite prop is of the day. And don't forget, guys, go ahead and grab that NFL 5% best bet if you haven't. And don't forget, just because it's Sunday doesn't mean that there aren't other plays. There's a Formula One race later today, and we have NBA and NHL. So grab those plays. They're all available at WagerTalk.com. Good luck on all your plays. Let's have a great Sunday. Steve and I will be back for Bankroll Reset Day tomorrow on the Road to Millions. Good luck. We'll see everyone tomorrow.
Good luck.
Good luck, guys.